in Korea, 박Kimi입니다. Hi, this is Kimi Park from Kimi in Korea, and today we are reviewing this book by Talk to Me in Korean. Okay, so this is my first 500 Korean word. 이야기로 배우는 한국어 기본 단어 500. This is through stories, learning Korean basic words 500, literally. So learning basics 500 Korean words through stories. So let's have a look, shall we? So the basic concept of this book is that you have 50 days, 10 words per day, and that makes it 500 words. Now, in the back, it is saying that because it gives also all the antonyms and like derivative from the words, technically it should give you a total of 1,500 words. This is how it works. For example, let's take day 11. So you have the 10 words that you're supposed to learn today. You can already check if you know any of them. For example, the first one, 내일. 내일 means tomorrow. That's the word that I know. Do I know any of the others? I mean, I do, but maybe you don't. So let's turn the page. And then we have let's warm up. So you have imagine the situation in the story below to help you remember the 10 Korean words in context. And so you have a story in English, but then you have those 10 words that are also written in Korean in the dictionary form. So not exactly how they would necessarily be said in the exact writing of the story, because for example, the verbs would be conjugated. Tomorrow is my close friend's birthday. Therefore, I am going to write a congratulatory letter. Will they be happy when they receive the letter? What will be a good present? Will earrings be good? Will a necklace be good? So as you can see, it's a bit like a journal entry type of little text. Then you have the 10 words again on the next page with the meaning, related words, and their own meaning. So you would have, in tiny, you have a romanization, which could be helping you, but really if you're intending to actually learn Korean vocabulary, if you're having this type of books, you are actually determined to learn Korean, skip that. Just learn your Hangul and then just move on. So you have 내일. 내일 means tomorrow. Related word, you have 내일 날씨, tomorrow's weather. 다음 날, the next day. 모레, the day after tomorrow. And then you have the same each time between 3 and 5, I think, words related to the main word that you're supposed to learn. Then it continues, and then you have let's review. So now we are reading the story, but entirely in Korean, and you still have the 10 words here, but this time conjugated, but they highlighted so you can recognize them. So you have the story. 내일은 친한 친구 생일이에요. 그래서 축하 편지를 쓸 거예요. And you have the translation under tomorrow is my close birthday friend, therefore I'm going to write a congratulatory letter, etc. And then you have some exercise to try to help you memorize the word. So you have a connect the dot, and you have a crossword, and then you have the text again, but with blanks. So you're supposed to fill the blank with the 10 vocabulary word with the right conjugation. Change it to the next day. It repeats that, and you have 50 of those in the book. Just to show you, at the beginning, you have a very quick review of the types of speech in Korean, conjugation of verbs and adjectives, some information about numbers, telling the time, some grammatical explanations, and yeah, that's it. These are very quick. This is not a book that aims to teach you any grammar or any sentence structure, really. This is all about vocabulary, and this is kind of more here for reference. And then at the end, you have, I like this page, I thought that was quite useful. You have the antonym page. For example, you have weekend versus a weekday, to put on clothes versus taking off clothes, to be dirty versus being clean, etc. Then you have the corrections of the exercise, and then an index. And the last thing that you have in this book that I didn't show you yet is that every 10 lessons you have a quiz about the 10 lessons that you are just completed. So about every 10 days. So now that we have seen what the book contains, let me tell you what I think about it, starting with the good. What I found really good with this vocabulary book is that, so it's aimed at beginners, but you already have the word in context every time because of the little story that you have. And this really helps because learning just vocabulary list of words, you won't necessarily understand, especially because some words can have some nuances that you won't know which one will be actually appropriate in which context. So learning in context, that's fantastic. If that's what you're going for, you can learn the little text by heart to remember said words. So this is really good. I really like the fact that they have included related words because then you can also expand your vocabulary, not only those 500 basic words. The activities, the exercise, they're quite basic. Obviously, the crossword puzzle, often the words don't even cross themselves because there's not enough words. It's a fun type of exercise, and it also forces you to think of unit of Hangul, like a little square, and writing those in those little square. I like the layout. It's pink and purple. I wore pink today, just too much.
On Wednesdays, we wear pink.
There's plenty of space if you want to add your little notes on the side, and it's not overwhelming. Potentially having a little illustration for each story would have been nice, but now, of course, this is also not super necessary. Another thing I like about the layout is the way it's constructed, because you have these 10 words, you have 50 days. It kind of like gives you a structure that you're like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna challenge myself to do this. And I already used it, but in one of my orders, Talk to Me in Korean had given us a little post-it where they had 50-day challenge and you could sort of like cross every single day that you were doing. So I was using that to keep myself motivated every time I was doing a little cross. This one is a 30 days. I bought that elsewhere. I also really like that you have an audio available. So you have the audio icon here with headphone and it says number 10, and it refers to the audio that is available for free with this book. So to get the audio, back in the days you had to go and like download the files from their website, but now they have an app that is called ttmik audio. Then you can scan the barcode at the back of the book and you get the audio for each of the books that you have.
생일 파티. 생일 파티.
You have the words with the related words. So they just read them in order and then they read the little text. As you can see, the audio is relatively slow. You can also put it faster.
내일 날씨.
But you can also put it slower.
다음 날.
And now let's move on about the thing that I don't really like about this book. So we were talking about the audio just now. One of the things that I really dislike about the way the audio is made, because all the files are separated in day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, it means that when they read the vocabulary and when they read the text, it's all one file. And I would have liked it to be in 2 separate files, because especially if I'm trying to learn the text itself or trying to quiz myself to see like, okay, can I understand everything in this story now? I have to listen to the whole vocabulary to start with, and I can't just pass it. Well, I have to estimate how long I have to pass it for. This is something that really annoyed me about it. The second thing is how big and heavy this book is. It weighs 860 grams, so that's pretty heavy. You can do homte. Homte is when you train at home. It is 495 pages long, which is a lot. The big disadvantage of being so big and heavy are two-sided. The first one is that when you are buying the book and you have to have it sent to you all the way from Korea to here in Europe, for example, in most of my Talk to Me in Korean orders, I have to double up the price of the book for the shipping fee. The second one is that if you just want to study at your desk in your house, that's okay, but if you want to like take it with you, that's not really possible because it is so heavy. So I remember I went on a weekend away and I did want to give up on my challenge, and so I took like pictures to have the book with me. There is an ebook version of it, but for an ebook I still find that really quite expensive because the price difference between the actual book and the ebook is not that big. But of course, when you're taking into account the sending fee of such a heavy book, that's something that you might want to consider. And another thing, it's also really hard to keep open. The book doesn't want to keep open by itself. So like when it's on my desk, it just keeps closing, so I have to put stuff on it, like my phone on the one page, so it stays open. I was studying with this book when I was a high beginner, so a lot of the words were actually familiar to me, which is why the related word was my favorite category. And if the majority of the 500 words are indeed useful words, some of them I'm just like, why is that here? Is the word twins really useful for a beginner? I'm not sure. Even though it would disrupt the layout a little bit, I would have liked that some things are explained in the related words. Like for example, the fact that you have 화장을 하다 and 화장하다, because it is the same word, it has the same translation, which is to put makeup on. But then as a beginner, I would be like, but what's the difference? I don't understand what's going on. If you're a beginner, you might not know that with all the hada verb, you can either put it together or you can write it in 2 words with the in between. But it's something that would have confused me as a beginner, and especially if I'm studying by myself and I've got nobody else to ask. So I think that adding some extra notes here and there, like little post-it style kind of thing, would have been a good idea. So let's sum up. Currently this book is $25. The ebook version is slightly cheaper at $18.75. It is a book targeted at beginners that don't have a lot of vocabulary but understand Hangul and have already a notion of how basic Korean sentences work. It has some small romanization and there is a free audio file that goes with it. Overall, I would give this book a rating of 4 stars, and I would indeed recommend it for beginners, maybe having passed the A1 level. So there you have it. I hope that this review was helpful to you. Have you studied with this book? Did you find it useful? Do you have another favorite book for Korean vocabulary or another favorite book from Talk to Me in Korean? Let me know in a comment. I'm very curious and I'm always looking for new recommendations to learn Korean vocabulary, which for me personally is the worst part of learning Korean. And I see you very soon for another book review video. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye!